don't understand why you're 40 years old playing the game still. So.
Well, I mean, what game do you think you're going to be playing when you're 40? When do you think you're going to stop playing games? What's the age? What's the cutoff age?
When you're out of high school and college.
You're a high school kid?
Yeah, I'm in high school. Yeah.
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, you foresee yourself in the future quitting something you love, like video games? Do you not love video games? You just cruise through it.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time when you're that old. But.
Well, how do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but...
You know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games, too, right?
Yeah, you can study and not play games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
All right, then.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to another episode of The Week in Culture, which is officially a weekly show now. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and Vivian is here, as well as my dog, Jojo, who I need to center on the camera because he keeps shuffling around. And we're going to be talking about what is going on in the culture, the good, the bad, and the non-binary. So let's get into let's get into the stories. Well, first of all, though, John, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm awesome as always. It's been a pretty fun week of streaming all around the interwebs and all that kind of wonderful stuff. A lot of crazy stuff this week, and we're not even going to be able to cover all of it, I'm sure. But there's definitely a lot to get into, to say the least.
Yeah, there are a few things. I mean, because we reduced the show to once a week now, because I have some other things that I'm trying to focus on, more interviews and guests, and so I'm probably going to reserve the Tuesday spot for that if I can, and also doing some more sort of original content. But I'll come to that at the end of the video. Let's hit first, and I want to bore you guys with the stuff I want to do. So we'll get into the topics right off the bat. So first thing is first. I guess we'll get into Dragon Age a little bit later because that is kind of like the topic du jour everyone's talking about. But I wanted to give a little bit of a spotlight to what's going on with Sweet Baby Inc. right now. So Sweet Baby Inc. has partnered with the Powell Group. The Powell Group has announced it is partnering with Sweet Baby Inc. to push its woke agenda and specifically to provide, quote, sensitivity and authenticity consulting at every stage of development. YouTuber Master of the TDS, the host of the Gothic Therapy channel, discovered the partnership and shared in a video, quote, they're not just partnering with Sweet Baby Inc. They are going to help Sweet Baby Inc. reach a wider market and be able to appeal to more studios, more gamers, more companies under a name that is more trusted in the industry. So what have we said on the show before? The culture war is ultimately a marketing war. It's a branding war. It is all about how can we reconfigure the message so that we can get the most people to absorb it. And so when Sweet Baby Inc. as a company loses its credibility, which it has with what failed project after failed project. I mean, what was the last one we covered? Unknown 9. And I think, were they involved with Dragon? And they weren't involved with Dragon Age, the Veilguard, but it doesn't really matter because
not that I'm officially aware of, no.
Yeah, it's essentially the...
I mean, there's definitely people that work on it that probably have worked through Ubisoft or SBI, but SBI is Ubisoft to, call it for what it actually is, because all this stuff goes all the way back up the chain for 10, 15 years basically.
Yeah, and it's essentially, it doesn't matter what the name of the company is next to whoever is pushing stuff. It's about the ideology at the end of the day. Yep. So that that's what it is that we're looking at. So Sweet Baby Inc. could be blown into the four winds, and the people that work there, the people and the belief system will persist. So that's ultimately what we are up against. It's not about Kim Belair. It's not about Anita Sarkeesian. It's not about Zoe Quinn. It's about their ideology. So
it's
anyway,
not about SBI That's the thing people need to understand, is because you're going to stop seeing SBI as an entity officially, because that's what this story is going to be about. Is
exactly.
It's like when you order some food and it doesn't come out to your liking. I wish we had the clip from Waiting right now, and you say send it back, and or I want to order something else. That's the and even if you order something else, they're probably just going to reconstitute what you gave them and serve it right back to you, or serve it to the next person, or it's there's a lot of shady things that happen in businesses that have proven themselves to be anything but on the level, and that's certainly SBI.
Yeah, and what these people do is, when you shine a light on them and you identify them and you expose them for who they are, what they will do is they'll first try to dismiss what's happening, then they'll accept what's happening. Then if there are actual negative consequences, like sales are down or whatever, they will retreat, and then they'll stay quiet and lay low for a while, and then they'll reemerge with wearing a new costume, with a new, branding, a new name, a new face, etc. But it's the same old song. So I thought we would look at the Powell Group and see what they're about. So this is the website for the Powell Group, and they have a section called Sensitivity Counseling. What is the Powell Group, though? Okay. They are let's see.
While you're looking it up, the funny thing I find, though, is, they say sensitivity for authenticity. The world is not sensitive. So the idea that you're going to make something authentic by focusing on sensitivity, that in and of itself is a misnomer. That completely detracts from reality. And that in and of itself should, for all the stuff they talk about, they're doing everything to homogenize products as much as possible, get everything dumbed down so that people can just be easily led. This is abhorrent behavior.
Absolutely, but again, we'll get into that. But yes, it is. So what do? They identify potential hit games early and engage the developer. We act as an extension of eyes to find hit games early, engage developers, and establish a connection. So they basically jump on something that looks like there's a bandwagon worth jumping onto. So what do? They're a consulting group that have essentially, sort of absorbed Sweet Baby Inc., or at least they're going to be working with them to help them because they believe in their message. So it says here, under sensitivity consulting, we believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. Together with our partners at Sweet Baby Inc., we provide sensitivity and authenticity consulting at every stage of development. We connect you to an inclusive and knowledgeable team of consultants to best bring your story to life. Okay, so here's what they claim that this will do. And a lot of times, remember when we talked about the Gamer Awards last week, I showed you all the letter that was sent out to various devs in order to essentially extract money from them. And it operates under this premise. They're like, oh, did you know that a significant number of gamers are gay, which we're going to come back to in a second, or LGBTQ specifically, because queerness is how you inflate that number, when normally people who are homosexual or transsexual or whatever is a very, very small percentage of the population. And so they throw queerness in there, and then they expand that as well. For example, if you're born intersex, it's not a sexual orientation. It's not part of, being gay or anything. It's just a genetic deformity that you just happen to be born with. But they're taking that and they're making it into another identity. And some people, I don't know how many, but some people will adapt that and say, well, I'm intersex, so that makes me special for these reasons, right? So, but it is in fact just, you're just born with an issue. It's like being born with, I don't know, a third eye or a third nipple or something.
Well, my nephew has 2 thumbs on his left hand.
There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean he's a new gender. It doesn't mean he's some different kind of human. He's just, he's just born in a funny way. That's a bit unusual. So yeah, a cleft lip, for example. I know a guy who has a cleft lip. That doesn't mean that he's like, gonna go to a pride parade. It doesn't make sense. But this is how they work. It's all about altering the meanings of words, expanding on definitions, and essentially using that to give them some leverage over people, especially people who are generally like sympathetic to the downtrodden, to the marginalized. Like, that's how you get them. You say, well, we're marginalized. Where's our money? With their hands out, right? So anyway, I talked about the gamer awards and how they were essentially, extorting money from developers by saying, look, you should be giving us money because here's our case for it. There's a lot of people who are LGBT, but also you don't want bad press, right? Because we're working with like the gaming websites like Kotaku. And if you don't, essentially support what we're doing, then they're going to give you bad press because you don't hate the media enough. And that's why I'm telling you that. So This is the same here. They're saying the claim is that because they're doing diverse stories, they're going to reach more people. When the sales numbers don't lie. Like, it's obviously not true, but it doesn't matter. They're going to do this anyway. So our approach. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's like I said last week, if you lack principles and values, to actually guide you with something to firmly adhere to, to kind of keep you honest, you'll lean on any convenient lie or, turn a phrase or whatever it might be just to keep the conversation going and not allow yourself to be exposed. So, the deception is the mode of travel that these people employ, so like everything that they say, think, and do has to be taken with suspicion at this point.
Yeah.
I do not trust anybody who is a marketing major, which, by the way, the guy that I was calling a fence sitter last week saw another video from this week saying, I am a marketing major. And it was like, oh, this is why I don't like you. I knew.
Some legendary drops, right? That's just like, he made a video about not Baldur's Gate. He made a video about the Veilguard that I made a video in response to, but for some reason my audio wasn't working, so I had to take it down. But I'll come back to that when we talk about Dragon Age. I'll give my thoughts on that because he is doing the fence sitting thing and it's really annoying. Or they make this argument that I really hate, but I'll come back to that. So anyway, Powell Group says, our approach leads with the creation of joyful and authentic experiences. We seek to be additive, not just corrective. Oh, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay, notice the word joyful. I don't know if you guys have been listening during this election cycle, but the word joy was coming up a lot. It's sort of like this new sort of like
it's code word for
I want to say it's hermetic in nature, like so it's all about repetition. You get you keep saying words like joy and vibes and all of that, and it has an effect on like lower IQ people. And they're even using this too. But go ahead.
Yeah, when I worked at the doctor's office, it's just those empty platitudes. Live, laugh, love. Make every day filled with smiles.
Dance like nobody's looking and all that.
Right. It's stuff said to fill time because at least then you can point to, no, I answered your question or I said something. It has no substance, has no real legitimacy. It's just it's content.
Well, it is in fact emotional. It is in fact emotional manipulation in the simplest terms, because a lot of people who are in this hobby, they're just like, I just want to have fun. I just want to play games. So like they don't want to deal with this, like the subversion and the normalization of these ideas, because they just want to like escape, and it's like they're not going to let you escape. And so one of the ways they make you feel like you might escape is they will use words like joy. Well, don't you just want to have fun? Just let it go, bro. Just make the your trans non-binary fantasy character with the zipper tits and get on with it. And some people are gonna be like, yeah, I guess it's not really a big deal. I just want to play my games. And so this is like one of the ways they do that. And you have to basically be able to say, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna go play my backlog. Like I don't have to get the new product. Like I can literally just like, I'm good. I got like a lot of shit I could play. And they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to escape that. This is why, by the way, they hate capitalism so much, because they hate people making choices. So anyway, I got a comment I want to read. Matra Marble says, "Gay dude here, sick of this agenda. As far as Dragon Age goes, def a no buy for me. I don't want to be lectured in a game about non-binary pronoun BS." Yes, thank you. Yes, base gay man. I agree with that. And remember, like, what they're doing has nothing to do with like your sexuality. It's not even about being gay. It's ultimately, this is like all about politics. I mean, they'll use any marginalized, so-called marginalized group to like get their way, but they don't actually care about you. They don't actually like, you know, like want to do anything for you, because if they did, they would just leave you alone, and they can't do that.
Right. Because ultimately, you know, isn't the American dream to just kind of like be able to like have a simple life that's private, and like, you know, like you actually get to like just live it without all this pomp and circumstance, positive or negative, you know? Because like it's one of those things, like to try to like rein people in when I was at the doctor's office, they would go and they would be on about all their platitudes and this and that, and I said, no, this is about accountability. Like, you know, like you can't just sit here and think that all your positivity is going to like, you know, like make things better. It's like, that's delusional. You know, it's like, you want to sit here and say that somebody who is being completely pessimistic is, you know, off the trail and kind of like, you know, out here. Well, yeah, exact same thing. If you're too optimistic, you actually have to like have a bearing on where you're at and be centered here in reality, you know, based on the situation that you're dealing with, and actually like put one foot in front of the other, actually discerning as you go. And some days you'll be a little bit high, some days you'll be a little bit low, but you know, it's like, that's how you actually have a human existence, you know? And so like all this stuff that we're doing in the name of like, you know, making things better and easier, it shortchanges our humanity and our actual human experience. And like, you know, I don't think that if you're actually in this life to live it, that is something that you would ultimately want to subscribe to. Because, you know, it's like, as you go and grow in life, you know, like you know, people make fun of me all the time on various streams I'm on because I talk about my past, and it's like, well, you know, like I had a really rowdy past, and you know, at a certain point in time, just like I'm just gonna slow down to just like kind of not do much of this, you know, stuff day to day, like, because every day when you look at it, it's kind of like, you know, like there's only a few things you really have to do in life. You know, take care of yourself, take care of your, you know, family and your surrounding, and, you know, just kind of like, you know, try to be decent, you know, like filling in with all this other kind of insanity, you know, needlessly making it complex, or trying to like adhere to, you know, other kind of forms of collectives. That's where people end up getting lost and start, you know, getting like their emotional kind of, you know, imbalances and make them distraught or whatever. It's like, just, you know, it's like you gotta lighten your load and just kind of deal with the fact that even if you care about people in your life, they care about themselves enough that they don't need you white knighting for them every single goddamn moment of the day and all this kind of stuff. It's be too much.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could only, like, again, you can only control that which is like within your reach, right? Like you can, you know, I try to talk to my friends about this stuff, and I think they're finally starting to come around. It's been years, but I at the end of the day, like, I just have to just keep plugging on ahead, and hopefully they will, you know, see where I'm coming from or whatever, and that's it. Like, you can only do what you can do, right? So. But let me finish their initiatives here. So, okay. So going back to what I was saying, I talked about Joy already. This is like a thing that they've been using in the Kamala campaign as a way to like get people to vote. They're like, oh, no, aren't you tired of all the division? Which, by the way, they created. And like, so they make the problem. This is like classic feminism, by the way. Create the problem, then blame the wrong people for the problem, and then offer a non-solution, like a placebo, and then carry on making more problems. And that's what they're doing. So joy is not a solution, just like it just isn't. Solutions are solutions. But anyway, and then it says we seek to be additive, not just corrective. So this presumes that when they step into like a game development, they're saying these people need to be corrected. They're doing something wrong. And obviously, you know that based on the history of franchises that have been successful that they have destroyed by correcting things. So that's another thing to, you know, point out. Oh, by the way, I got a comment from Phantom Wars. I've come to support my boy PWG. Also, John, please don't mention your ex-wife, the porn shop, or the clean foods. Much love, buddy. Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to read that and I forgot to. So
that's all right. That's all right. I already responded back to him as you know.
Yeah,
I'm going to do those things no matter what. It's
so
part and parcel.
So it says these are the three things they want to do: reach a bigger audience. Well, we believe that representation is key to connecting players and audiences. Appeal to a wider reach of players with more inclusive storytelling. Wrong. Also, just so for the record, like I'll make a video about this in the future, but ultimately this whole thing, if you want to understand why people are obsessed with themselves, their identities being represented in shit, because I've never like said, why aren't there more Puerto Ricans in my video game? I've never said it. Like I said, it haven't even entered my conscious. In fact, it's just like, it's not even a masculine way to relate to things. Like generally, when you are enjoying a piece of content with a character you like, it's not that you want the character to be more like you. It's that you want to be more like them. So you're like, man, I wish I was a space marine. I got to go to the gym, right? Like that's like the meme, right? But no. People who want to see themselves in shit, that's a feminine thing. That's why, like, when you write, novels like Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey, which are very popular with women, or Hunger Games, the main character is extremely like, they're like a blank slate that they can just project themselves onto. And it's okay that that's the way women enjoy shit. But it's very important to point out that this is feeding on that kind of, feminine urge to be represented, but it's exaggerating it to narcissistic levels. So people are like, I need, like you have people doing self-inserts in games all the time. Like Kim Belair is in like 4 or 5 games right now. And, and then you got like, and then you got like these, like, these troons, and they're putting themselves in the games as well because they are obsessed with themselves. And if you want to understand how that happened, I would suggest reading up on Herbert Marcuse and Theodore Adorno, who, especially Theodore Adorno, who's done a lot of, like, he's basically a Marxist, academic from back in the day, and he has written extensively about essentially pushing for, this narcissistic agenda in order to essentially uglify everything. It's about tearing down everything beautiful because beauty is hierarchical and they can't stand that because it's also reality. Like they're like in our world, beauty is real and they hate reality and they hate beauty, but they love themselves, or at least they love and hate themselves in the same way that Gollum, from Lord of the Rings, loves and hates himself and loves and hates the One Ring. They're the same way. They're just like that. And so it's just something. If you want to take this deeper, look into Theodore Adorno and Herbert Marcuse, because that's where this shit comes from. Okay, so anyway, go ahead.
Well, ultimately, it's they want to be unburdened by what has been. To use a
they want to imagine what can be, unburdened by what has been. Yes,
and to what you were saying specifically, I don't think you're going to see Puerto Ricans in much in the way of fiction at this point in time, because quite honestly, I was talking to Sonia about this the other day. Puerto Ricans are far too based for most fiction, and I mean, like gendered language, they don't want any of that. The fact that
Latinx and all that bullshit. No, they don't.
Right. And and to what they're doing, like this whole idea that we're providing solutions. Well, here's the thing about solutions, and I'm gonna talk about the doctor's office. So everybody's gonna have to deal with it. So when I was there making medicine for people, I would get basically a script order, right, on what the person's protocol would be. I had this tincture wall. I had like 300 different kinds of tinctures, ingredients. And so you have to know the specific measure, the specific ingredient. And I would handcraft specifically potent solutions. I would make magic potions, if you will, right? But this is like a solution in the sense of a vaccine, where it's just one thing done repetitiously over and over, and it's assigned to everyone. It's not a solution. That's a really shitty answer that you just keep giving because you don't actually want to learn how to actually solve anything. And if you're not going to take the time to actually get into the situation and do what good doctors do, which is have patience, and by that I don't mean the people that you see. I mean actually deal with what it is that you're actually right in front of you, what is it? What do I need to know more about? How do I actually, deal with this thing that might be beyond my immediate thing that I like to grab to and I just use it because it's convenient. That's what this shit is. This is how you homogenize things. This is how you make things lesser over time. So
Yeah.
I'll let you continue.
Yeah. All right. No, it's okay. Next, tell new stories. We tackle narrative and character in any form, keeping emotional resonance and authenticity at the heart of our work. Of course, this is all presuming that the stories are in line with their, agenda. Ultimately, it has to serve modern progressive politics. It must. Otherwise, it's not even art. And, I did an interview late last night. I uploaded it this morning of a couple of devs that worked in the game jam on a game called Lower the Gates, which is a fun little Coliseum, gladiatorial arena type of game that they came up with. And we talked at length about the problem with progressive storytelling is not only that it's just sort of presentism, which means it's only concerned with the present. And that's why a lot of stuff in these failed games feels so anachronistic because they're so out of place. So you're in, Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is this magical world of fantasy and monsters and goblins. And people are talking about pronouns and they're speaking like Joss Whedon wrote their lines because I'm sorry if you're a fan of Buffy, but you have to admit that the Whedonisms are the only way that people write dialogue. It's all spilled out of Tumblr's asshole. But
I mean, I would say it's a dime store version of a Whedonism. Because,
yeah, it could be. Sure.
Joss Whedon at least had some degree of talent, but all these washed down derivative variations on theme.
Yeah, but he changed. Yeah, but he changed. What I mean
I
is.
know. Oh no! All the shows were the same ostensibly, so I think it was down in that regard. So, but I'm just saying, these people are even worse than that.
They are, but I'm not necessarily dogging on Joss Whedon. I'm saying that when he started writing stories, he changed the way. Everyone liked it so much, they all wanted to do that. So it all became derivative of that. In the same way that Alan Moore, right? People consider The Watchmen to be this, sacred cow that's above criticism because OMG, the deconstruction. But the damage that he did with that cannot be measured. It's not even. And look, his books are really overrated. They're extremely wordy. They're not novels. Comic books don't work that way. But I digress. My point is that there are people who have done
that leftist meme.
Yeah, it's what I'll say is that the way that these people impacted the industry has not been for the better. It has been for the worse. And I mean, it's just what it is. Alan Moore made deconstruction trendy, and then it is the only thing, and that's all we have left now is everything is deconstruction. Joss Whedon has this kind of fourth wall breaking, I know I'm in a TV show attitude, and that's basically what everything has been. It's a bunch of people who are aware that they're in a story, and so they're acting like it, and you just can't get immersed, because there's nothing authentic happening, and that's what. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say these copies of copies, they become more smudged and degraded with each generation. It's just like AI being so self-referential. It
exactly
collapses.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's really rich. They're saying that they're going to keep emotional resonance and authenticity at the heart of their work, because the only thing they feel the only thing that they believe is authentic is the lived experience of the woke people behind it. So you're going to see what people believe in their stories because that's all they know. And then it says represent empathetically. We seek to spark joy in marginalized players, elevate real human experiences, and foster empathy within your game. Can you imagine being a marginalized person that still has the free time to play video games? Right. And then get upset that you're not represented?
Right.
What?
I think you would be happy. It's wow, I worked 10 days straight in a row. I've got 4 hours off. I have to pay so much in bills and just, enough to get my food supply to keep me going. I'm going to go and play this game. This is my treat to myself. I'm going to be playing this for the next 2 to 3 months until I can save up another $80 to pay for the next one, just put $20 aside every week or whatever. And I budgeted out. I'm going to have a couple really good games. If you go after what are supposed to be these, AAA, or I guess now they call themselves quadruple A titles, and then you're just fucking lectured the entire time. And if you're not getting lectured, they want you to do chores. Like, these are supposed to be escapist experiences that get you out of like the thing that you're stuck to and just clinging on because you have to deal with the state of reality, and you want some escapism, but there's no escape anywhere.
Yep.
So
Mr. 0303 and Rumble said The Boys, Invincible, Injustice, all cringe derivatives of Watchmen. Yeah, and the Watchmen HBO show was even like they just kept doing it. What about the one where was it like Brightburn, which is basically like, what if Superman was evil? How's that for original? No one's ever done that before, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's super boring. Like, it's it doesn't exist to make anything. It's just like Tolkien said, right? Evil cannot create anything new. It can only destroy that which has been created for the good. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I can't. Like, my friends are like, you should watch Invincible. It's not bad. I was like, nah, it's okay. I've had enough evil Superman. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm done with that. Anyway,
that and The Walking Dead turned into a shit show, like in the comics as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Series, so I don't hold out hope.
I think that the problem is culture junkies, that they just want something. Like, they want something so bad that they're willing to take whatever table scraps these people leave, and then they try to figure out, there's a little bit of protein in this, in this turd. It's like, no, just reject it. Like, you don't have to buy the new product, guys. You just don't have to. You literally have all the power, So it's like I figured out ways to like make natural fermented soda, right? It's like, it's based around like honey and essential oils and like actual fruits to like, give it like, make like real genuine syrups, and it carbonates because it's alive, and so like it actually stimulates your immune system. I know what you mean. My wife does a lot of that. She makes like fermented things. But it's like, it's easy to go to the store and just buy some corn syrup with some food coloring and like, a whole bunch of chemical filler bullshit in there, and then just be, this is all right, this is great. And it's like the thing that's if it's all if it's all I can understand, but go ahead.
But that's the thing, is that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to drill down the world to the point to where people don't actually enrich their experiences, or actually fundamentally like know how to do anything. You just become a consumer. You become a mindless cow that's ready to be slaughtered. And that's what, that's the whole concept behind a useful idiot. And then saying, hey, we can depopulate the planet because it's full of useless eaters, because they're programming you to be weak. And so to remain strong, you actually have to challenge yourself. You have to learn new things. You have to do things that like, take a little bit of time and effort, do a little bit of struggling, if you will, have a little bit of sacrifice if you actually want something to be meaningful. You can't just easy button your way through things. And if you do, you're not even living. You're just having an experience, a hollow one at best,
So, so I just wanted to point that out. Obviously, they have like a process, but it essentially means that they come into your game, and these are the same thing that Sweet Baby does, and all these other consulting groups. Like, these are people that couldn't make it in like whatever industry, and so they're like, I know, I'm going to become a consultant, and I'm going to tell other people who actually do their jobs how to do their job, and that's what they're doing. So, but we got to move on, because
I was going to say, why they get away with it in gaming though, right? Dana Barry, who was the first trans person in the game industry, and this was like back in the 1990s. Actually made the game Mule, which is the first multiplayer game, right? And like also did Modem Wars, a couple other things. And and this is not to shit on them as a person. They made the transition they did in their 40s, and when this happened, like you've lived a life, you've done this whole thing, and you're not trying to really put it in anybody's face. It's just, this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
And so ended up getting cancer and died at like the age of 47 or 49, something like that, right? But that was kind of like the wedge that they used. And so like the woman who is the head of our design department, who became the head of Women in Games doesn't even care about women in games. They care about diversity in games now, and so like
Well,
that
they
means,
care about
they're-
they probably just care about getting women in positions of power to
right,
control.
right, and
it's
they
not
did
really
that.
about
Right, and they already did that because they've been in play for 15 years now, and at least, and because they were able to get that first wedge done, now they pivot, and now it's about all the trans queerism and all this kind of stuff. When it's just like people used to have like their own identities and whatnot, that were integral to them as individuals, and it didn't have to be about all this platforming. But again, this is just people being used to actually sell this ideology, which is ultimately to undermine the quality of life of everyone in their own individual lives as we move forward. But we must, speaking of moving forward,
I got to move forward. So I want to go into another game that's coming out. So you guys heard about Life is Strange, I assume. I never played them. I already know. I knew from the beginning that was like, this is not for me. It's some kind of like, what do you even call these? These are like these
choose your own adventure kind of thing. I think.
Yeah. It's like
it's a graphic. It's like a visual novel,
interactive novel or whatever. Like it's basically like those David Cage games, right? Those like Quantic Dream games.
In the old days, it would have been a point and click adventure.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a new Life is Strange coming out, and well, it's woke. Yeah, I know, crazy, but I know this might strike you as like surprising. But it's woke as shit, and I'm going to explain how in a couple of ways. So first off, here we got the title screen. It's called Life is Strange Double Exposure. I think this game is out now. No idea if it is or not. And then we have the accessibility settings, and it has a number of warnings on it. So let's take a look at them. We have a brightness warning. We have a blood warning. So apparently it might have gore. You can turn these on or off. A violence warning, a suicide warning, an abuse warning, a drug warning, a sex warning, and a transphobia warning. The transphobia warning says enables warnings before mentions of transphobia occur. No depictions of transphobia occur. If enables. If enabled, warnings will appear in the top right hand of the screen before the content appears. So
all right, okay, Jesus Christ. So like not only do you have to just deal with it as it comes, but now it's like, hey, I'm gonna give you a warning. So like you're just doubling down on the shit that.
But you see, they're calling it. This is what I wanted to point out. A couple things. So there used to be, and I remember when games were doing this a few years ago. Maybe older. I mean, I don't know exactly when it started, but there was this call for like more options for people with disabilities, maybe, like they would call it accessibility, like options. Okay. Right. I know that I think it was The Last of Us Part 2, they had a bunch of stuff in there that was more about like, how violent do you want it to be? Are you like, what languages do you like have trouble with? Whatever. I don't know. Whatever it is. Okay.
They use seizure warnings as the way to wedge it in.
Yeah. They start by saying this might cause epileptic seizures. Right.
Right. And people have handicaps that needed to like have specialized controls specifically. And
right. And they use that, and then they tried to make the argument that there should be accessibility warnings in order to make games easier, so that like making a game easier should be an option. And a lot of these woke like journalists have been doing that ever since From Software started making games. Every time they release a new title, they're like, they should really have an easy mode. They should really have a story mode. And why is that? Well, because ultimately they want to focus on the message, and the message is in the story. And if you can't like progress the story because the game is too challenging, then you can't get the message. So they want to make it more accessible so that happens. And they do it under the guise of, well, we're looking out for the disabled. Meanwhile, people are beating like, Elden Ring's DLC with like a fucking like Dance Dance Revolution pad. Like it's it's if you have the will, you can do it. But these people don't believe that anyone has the ability to persevere. So when
Hypnotic was calling it journalism mode the other day because they do the exact same thing. They do the exact same thing in Dragon Age. Sure. And so like I wanted to highlight this because if this was just like accessibility settings, for
the hard of hearing, for the I don't know if blind people should be playing video games anyway, but like people who have like vision, they're visually impaired in some way.
Colorblind, I understand.
Yeah, color blindness, right?
And all that kind of
right.
whatever.
But like that's reasonable, but that's also how they get the foot in the door, so they can do this stuff. Like if you don't, okay, blood warning. Okay, fine. Like I don't know why you would do it. Like, why wouldn't you just not play the game if you have a problem with blood in a video game? But I know that. But I remember back when, like, censoring the blood in games got you a lot of shit from gamers. Yeah. Remember the Mortal Kombat controversy?
Oh yeah.
Remember when it was on the Super NES and like the characters would it was milk. It was white.
Yeah.
It was milk.
Sweat or whatever, which you could also say it looked like jizz. So it's like I just beat the jizz out of this guy.
Yeah, and they changed the fatalities because I mean, because it was like we got a lot of shit for that, and rightfully so. And now, like the gamers are the ones asking to censor this stuff.
Right. Well, that's the real ludicrous thing about it, though, is they came up with the ESRB, rating system all the way back then. Like it's been around for over 20 some odd years now, right? Probably closer to 30 than 20 at this point. And so, like, when you have mature rated games, I'm a fucking adult. I think I have my own ability to have discretion. If you're gonna sit here and try to mediate my life, and even on teen titles, if this is the whole thing where it's like, oh, we're trying to do this stuff, then make games for the appropriate age range. You already did all this stupid shit. I think that stuff's a little bit asinine myself to begin with. But, I understand people want to have discretion. You have kids. You want to make sure that they're not getting into shit that, that's what the outside of the box is for. Put that stuff there. But these before you buy it.
Kids aren't playing this. Well, I mean, maybe, but I think this is for
this is
emotionally, this is for emotionally incontinent adults that they want a game that's going to stroke their ego, because that's ultimately what I think these are about. But also, it's going to be extremely safe, which is why you have all these warnings, because we don't want to make people uncomfortable. In particular,
this is just narcissistic white woman trash. That's the easiest thing to call it.
Yeah. So speaking of women, using the term loosely, who's responsible for this? Well, I will show you the person behind this. Laura Kate Dale Bluesky at Laura Bubsky Social, accessibility, so responsible for the accessibility options. Life is Strange, double exposure, queer consultant, accessibility, author, WIG Awards, journalism impact winner, Laura K Buzz official at gmail.com.
Women in games.
But wait a minute. Why is there a drawing of a person that looks like some Cartoon Network bean mouth goy slop? Well, because this is actually what they look like. So this is the actual person that you saw in this cartoon. Totally the likeness is.
Yeah.
I can't tell the difference.
20 minutes ago? Women in games doesn't even care about women in games. This is what women in games is all about. And that wig award that she just won, it's not because she's wearing one, even though probably is going to need to in a few years, because it looks like they're losing that, hairline that's half shaved. But
that's a dude.
So that's what I'm saying. Women in games is not about actually putting women in games anymore. It is totally it's a troon cult.
Yeah, it is. It is. So this is the brains behind the Life is Strange thing. What's happening to men? I'm sorry, but I keep seeing we got to get our T levels up, guys. I don't know how. Get some sun, eat some red meat, fucking dose. I don't know. Yeah, go lift some weights. We gotta do guys. What is happening to men? Okay. So anyway, I wanted to share that. And let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments. We're going to get into the next thing here. Let me just close these and look at your chat, because sometimes I like to see what people are saying. Randall Orlin 901 ATT says, it's feminism. Yes. We know. It is ultimately feminism. That's where it comes from. And that's because while all this other communist shit was, trying to get in, doing it on the basis of like economic disparities or whatever, this class-based war. It didn't work in the West because people were able to self-actualize and build their own thing, and they were happy with whatever little thing, the little piece of heaven that they were able to make with their own, the sweat of their brow, as BioShock would say. But so they were like, well, this isn't working. What do we do? I was like, well, why don't we divide men against women? And so they made feminism, and it's been super effective. So
and the thing that I was talking to, making people unlearn everything. It's like I don't know how to make my own bread. I don't know how to I don't know how to cook for myself. I don't know how to stitch a button on there's just a lack of capacity for most people to actually. I swear, in the future, people will they won't even sell toilet paper. You'll just have to have a bidet because people won't even know how to wipe their own ass. Just quite literally, and that'll be the only option. Not to say that bidets are terrible, but it's nice to have the option for whatever, and just kind of actually know that I have capacity. If I need to wipe my own ass, I can do that.
Yeah. All right. Will of the Fans is in the chat and says, "We are winning. Don't let up. Hold the line." Thank you.
Indeed.
Mr. 0303 says, "Remember when Total Biscuit simped for that thing? Simped for what? What thing? Maybe. Are you talking about Life is Strange? Possibly." Mr. 0303 says, "This Dale dude also worked on the new Dragon Age." Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Norwegian Black Templar says, "A man chooses, a simp obeys."
Right.
Thank you.
Well, if I could just do just a few more minutes on the women in games, try to keep it as brief as I can. But it goes back to what I was saying earlier about Dana Barry, and the woman that was the head of my design department at SCAD, 20 years ago when I started college, she looked up to Dana Barry, right? Dana Barry was we actually had a whole section in our design course where we had to learn the history of this person, right? And which is why I know all about it, right? And so when she became the president to Women in Games, which was, I believe, the way that it was all situated, I believe that she was put into SCAD specifically so they could, ratchet her into position as the head of Women in Games. The more I think about it, I've been thinking about this throughout the week, because of all the stuff that's been kind of happening with this Troonish insanity that's happening, and it's all coming through this pipeline. And so, the whole conceit of what they were doing was quite literally, putting Brenda there as the initial president because she wrote a book called Sex in Games, and she had worked on the Playboy game, which was basically a really bad version of The Sims. And ultimately,
what happened to Leisure Suit Larry? Why wouldn't you just do another one of those?
She actually did consulting on that when they did the when they did the rework back on a PS2 or PS3. I can't remember which one, but yeah. So her whole thing though, much like Kim Bel-Air, you kind of start to wonder, there's more going on here than anybody really wants to even know, probably. But yeah, her whole thing, ultimately was and I mean, she worshipped Dana Barry. It was the first time I ever heard anybody talk about trans activism was in my art school about this person, and it was all this whole thing, and that's why the game industry is so built around it, because there's this historic figure they could all rally around and try to get behind, but they died of cancer. And they were just living their own life, actually being somebody who was highly, talented, but also deeply haunted at the same time. And everybody kind of could see that. Any picture you see of Dana back when she was Dan, and then when she became Dana, but back then it was one of those things where it was oh, you're unique, you're modded, you're whatever, and you're not trying to put it in everybody's face. So it was a little bit more just kind of people just kind of it's you're whatever, and I'm just gonna go on. You're talented, so
sure,
I'm not gonna fault you, right? But
yeah,
that's what this has led to, is all these untalented hacks that can't even hang, unless I'm gonna stop
Yeah, no,
there.
but
So
I think
say
that
so.
like that's the thing though. It always starts off as, well, this wasn't bad. Like this is like a good example, and then the slippery slope is real. Like Life is Strange. The first one, a lot of people defended, like, no, man, no, it's not woke. It's like, but dude, how did we get here? Like, it started somewhere. You have to understand that, like, on some level, we accepted enough of this for this to happen in this way. Like, and I mean, it's not like I'm saying that things shouldn't exist, but we should acknowledge how we got here. So, because there were, like, in the original. Well, I'll come back to Dragon Age, but I'll just say briefly, because we accepted Dragon Age 1 as is, and not only that, but defended it like vehemently for the romance options. That's why we got Dragon Age: The Veilguard, because we not only accepted what was in the original game, but we like celebrated it and praised it. So on some level, we have to understand that there is such a thing as a slippery slope, and you have to know where the line is at, so you can be like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So okay, but anyway,
and that's the thing. Like I said, at least with Databerry, they were talented and skilled and proficient at what they were doing, and nobody else could do it. And they did a lot of things first before they went and got themselves all like modded for their own reasons.
Right.
And even in doing that, might have been one of the things. Like, well, Dana died of lung cancer, so it's kind of hard to say that it was. But I'm sure all the meds
if they got, I was gonna say the meds could have given her the cancer.
Right. And so, but nowadays it's like these people that just come in saying, oh well, like I'm special because I had my parts cut off. I deserve this. And it's like, where's the technological kind of like thing that you can point to that nobody else has done? Or like the great amazing art that just blows people's minds. Every game's made in the Unreal Engine now, for the most part, because weakness. So much
for sure.
Just
they make it easy.
Weakness.
Yeah, for sure. So the thing I would say on the last word on this is that the issue is that this person was celebrated for being trans. As well as being a developer. And if we only celebrated their achievements and not their identities or whatever makes them special, then you wouldn't get people coming in saying, I'm trans too, give me a job. So like that's the thing. Like you can say, oh, well, this person had natural talent and they were really good at what they did, etc. And they were trans and this is an exceptional, thing because they were good at what they did. The problem is you're still celebrating their being trans, so you have to let that go and be like, okay, like if there's a black guy that like builds a new engine from the ground up, we shouldn't be going, the black guy did it, guys. Look at black people are smart too. Look what he did. The black guy did that. Even if he did do that, because the issue is that now you're going to get a bunch of other people who are like, I'm also black and I made something, and they're going to show you the thing they made and expect to be celebrated. So you have to be able to say, this guy did this thing. The actual like achievement is what we should be. Yeah, like just that. Period. None of the identity shit. Not it's a woman. Oh, it's a black dude. Oh, it's a Latino. Oh, it's a troon. I don't give a shit. Like, just what did you do? Oh, cool. As long as there is an identity marker that can be attached, then people are going to leech onto it and say, oh, I also have an identity. I've just come up with something right now. I'm queer. Give me a job, right? So that's the last word I'll say on that, is that that cannot be a part of why this is special. Only the actual achievement matters. So, in my opinion. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. So, speaking of special, Concord has been officially shut down by Sony. Actually, not the game. The studio, Firewalk Studios, officially shut down by Sony. I guess it took almost $500 million in losses for them to be like, you know what?
It's closer to $1 billion is what I would say, because they don't count in the cost of the building or the cost of like all these other kind of intangibles. But I will at least say they got the name of the studio right, because they all got fired and now they all have to walk. I kid.
So, okay. Sony recently confirmed the inevitable after years of misguided development and toxic workspaces. By the way, by toxic, we mean toxic positivity, which is a big problem in studios today, especially the big AAA ones that are infested with the woke mind virus. Because toxic positivity means that you can't criticize anything because you don't want to upset people.
Right.
But anyway, after years of misguided development and toxic workspaces, Firewalk Studios has officially shut down, marking an unsurprising end for what was once positioned as PlayStation's supposed answer to multiplayer innovation. Despite a colossal budget rumored to be exceeding $400 million and over 8 years in development, which is ridiculous for a video game, by the way, Concord failed to attract any player base whatsoever and is now widely regarded as one of the biggest missteps in gaming history ever. Maybe the biggest. I don't know. What are some other like big missteps? Daikatana, maybe? Anthem?
Yep. Obviously, the historic one, E.T., but E.T. seems like
E.T. sold better than this, and it didn't cost as much to
I know,
make.
and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't even seem like an issue at this point in time. Like
I had E.T. when I was a kid.
Right?
I had it.
Like the
I didn't know what I was doing,
that are incurring. I had somebody this week. I know we're not quite at Dragon Age just yet, but they came at me sideways because I called it Drag Queen Age the Fail Hard, right? Which is the thumbnail for today, right? And they're like, they saw that it had like 70,000 concurrent players on day one. They're like, so much for fail. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm still standing by what I said. This is, narratively speaking, sales wise, it doesn't take too much to impress you. This is day one, hasn't even broke 6 figures when Inquisition, I believe, their highest selling game, sold 1 million copies on day one. And so this hasn't even sold a tenth of that, or maybe a tenth of that if you add everything together. And how many of those sales are actually sales? Because a lot of people have GeForce now, right? And as long as you do the 6-month subscription, you get it for free. Or if you have a Ubisoft subscription, pay $20 a month. So, I crunched the numbers on this thing based on the 250 to 300 million for development. They would have to sell 3.5 million to 4 million to even not break even. So for them to actually get commercial profit, they have to hit at least 8 million in sales, and that doesn't even factor in marketing costs and all this other stuff. But we're going to get to that one in a minute. But it's all this stuff is exactly, like people trying to proclaim wins way too early when there just isn't a thing there to even actually like hang your hat on, much like the big one that's on this hat rack's head. So I'll let you go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So, well, I mean, there isn't much else to add to this. They're gone, and Sony had to let them go because it cost them too much money. Will they learn from this? Probably not. No. But I guess we will have to see what happens in the future. It's getting to the point now where you're either going to continue to double down on this because you believe the message is more important than business, which I think kind of throws the whole like greedy evil corporations narrative out of, and yet people on the internet are still saying it. Oh, it's greedy corporations. Like what?
No.
What greedy for what? Like they're going broke. Like they're losing money hand over fist. It's not actually about that, guys. I'm sorry, but this is not late stage capitalism or whatever you commies use as your talking points. It is simply people with ideological possession that cannot let go. Now,
it is corporatism, but it's corporatism for power, for gain, for undermining structures and making multinational control states that undermine any sense of sovereignty or national identity or anything like that. Has nothing to do with money, though. Absolutely fuck all on that.
No, power is more valuable than money. Like they basically support us printing money into oblivion. So why would they do that? I was watching a while ago. I was watching a podcast by Patrick Bet-David. I don't know if you guys know who Patrick Bet-David is. He's like a businessman. He does interviews with mobsters and he talks about investing and things like this. So not really like this sort of, it's not really something connected to this, but he also talks to politicians and pundits and stuff. And he said something interesting when he was getting into a debate with a guy who was basically in support of, the inflation, like basically saying, oh, well, the money printing thing. He said, and I think this is really important. He said, I'm rich enough that this won't affect me at all. The only people it's going to affect are the poor. And so he doesn't.
That's the point. I know.
That's the truth of it, though. Like if you have enough money, then you're not going to give a shit about what the state
Right.
does in terms of printing
Right.
money, what the Fed does, whatever. So I think that, again, these corporations, they're not interested in profits. You have to get that out of your head. They're interested in power, or if they do
they're
wake up,
interested in serfdom. Like like I say, they like, because there is this whole idea of the dividing of, you know, the people who are upper middle class and, you know, everybody's just lower class now. So upper middle class is going to be like, you know, just like the bottom of the, it'll be like being the shortest giant. You know, you're still big enough to be solvent, but everyone below you is, you know, now weakened and can't, you know, compete. And that's the whole point behind inflation. It's like, I'm sure I've mentioned it on this show before. If not, I've mentioned it somewhere else. You can make $250,000 a year nowadays. You have less buying power than somebody who was making $80,000 back in the 1980s. You know, so, you know, like this idea that we have so much money is a misnomer. And yeah, like people that think inflation's a good thing are people that are clearly, you know, not based in an actual situation that, as you're saying, is going to affect them. And so that's why they just don't care, which is why, you know, like when you do actually deal with elected officials and things like this, especially on the state level or locally, make sure that you're actually dealing with somebody who knows what your economy is. Because if they are kind of like living in this out of touch kind of stability that you'll never be able to really attain, then they're the ones who are going to be, and we'll get into this with the whole Harris thing. They'll be more easily cajoled, or, you know, like willing to go along with just putting on a mask and, like, you know, doing a song and dance and like doing like whatever for, you know, the authority, because that's what this is. This is authoritarianism. It's coming by way of, you know, corporations, but this ultimately is about world governance and, you know, just globalism. And that is the thing that people would do well to actually appreciate and understand, because sitting here saying, you know, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of, you know, like, well, they like to call it late stage capitalism, but that's the whole thing, to like put the onus and, you know, the focus on like, well, businesses need to be dissolved. We just need people to, like, you know, give us universal income, all this stupid bullshit. And that is, you know, that's them tricking you. That's the magic. That's the dark magic that I mention all the time. Just because something seems like it's, you know, good for you, and there's, you know, just like a pathway of least resistance to get the thing. If the cheese is just laying out there for you to take, it's probably a trap.
Yeah, for sure. And well, we're gonna change lanes here. We're gonna talk about Dragon Age while we're on the topic. So, Dragon Age, the Veilguard is. I'm not even gonna play the clip because it's been all over the internet. Okay, I'm not gonna play any of the clips. But apparently it's a return to form, according to all of the bots online.
So the thumbnail I used today came from the real popular clip. And then there's another one that is the character talking about their non-binary status to, I suppose, what's supposed to be their mother. And it's just like, what the hell is this even about? Like, this is supposed to be a game, and you're just sitting here, like, sitting around a table, eating pie. This is like if the player character hadn't been made as a man, it would have passed the Bechdel test. It was just like I was like watching a scene from the MCU. But anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so the Dragon Age, the Veilguard is out. We're going to look at the numbers on it a little bit later in the show to see how well it's selling. There are claims that it is, what do they say, the best-selling BioWare. Is this BioWare, right? I always get these developers mixed up.
Yes, it is. It is BioWare.
Yeah, the best
BioWare.
launch of a BioWare product in like however long, which is like it's a stretch to sort of like make it seem like has a bigger impact than it actually does.
Right, because they have to use qualifiers, because as stated, Dragon Age Inquisition sold 1 million copies on day one. This did not do that. So them trying to say this and that, it's kind of like how Disney will try to spin their successes. And the person that I was just giving my little anecdotal story about, which I eventually told them the whole thing about, like, you can get back to me once this thing sells 7 million copies. So otherwise, STFU, I don't, you know, and I haven't heard back from them, and I'm never going to, because my point was made quite abundantly clear. It's like, I don't care if, like, you know, like, you can set off a big firecracker you go like to like say it's 4th of July, and you're gonna go and you're like gonna like see the fireworks display, and like you have this idea, this anticipation of like, oh, it's gonna be like an hour long, and I'm gonna see all these like great amazing things, and like it just starts off with like a big resounding pop, and then there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. Like, yeah, it'll have like some kind of impact initially, because it's a game with a lot of promotion and a lot of like like platforming behind it. So of course there's going to be some initial kind of business that happens, but how many of those sales have already been refunded? The numbers that we're going to look at, it has not peaked past that day one peak. It's the weekend, so these will be the days that if it's going to happen, it's going to be this weekend. But I don't see this thing getting into if it reaches 100,000 concurrent players this weekend, I will be shocked.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I think one of the things that they're relying on is brand recognition, just like Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I don't think sold that well. But basically any brand that they attach themselves to, they're using the brand. Like, oh, you remember Dragon Age, right? Like, it doesn't look anything like the game you remember, but it is the same game. Why don't you buy it, consumer? And so we have the reviews. So there was this big controversy around the reviews for Dragon Age: The Veilguard, where some reviewers on online review groups were denied access to a review copy. Among those is Fextra Life. And I think Legendary Drops also made a video about it. And I just want to, I know we said this already, but I just want to make it clear that they are way too charitable to these people for this. I mean, like, they're saying, oh, this is unprofessional or whatever, but you don't understand. Like, they're being deceptive. They're lying to the audience. They are only using like the review sites that are going to give them the best scores,
right? And
they're going to give them money or access or whatever, to in exchange for that. It's completely disingenuous from the get-go, and the only response you get is the safe kind of, look, man, I don't want to be called a transphobe, but see, that's kind of like that's ultimately the problem, though, because if you are not, I know that you have an opinion on this, guys. I know that you do. I know that you realize that transgenderism is kind of a sickness and we should be talking about it. You should know that queerness is not about being gay. It is actually just a political position that goes against the normal. And you should know that. The games are being used to push propaganda. You should know that. You should be against it on principle. But you are being cowards. And the reason why is because you think that more people agree with them than you. But if you speak up like I'm doing right now, you might find that more people are in favor of normality. They're not going to give these people money, and they shouldn't. And you should tell them, right? I mean, like, just based on what they did to you, like, but just based on the fact that they lied to you, that they said they were going to give you a review copy, that they didn't do it. And even I think in some places I heard that maybe not for this, but there was something I heard about where, they would allow people to do a review, but they had a bunch of conditions attached to it.
Writers.
Yeah, like, that's just, I'm sorry, but that's like beyond the pale.
That's just marketing.
One of the things that it is, but they're trying to control your marketing. Exactly.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It's in the guise of a review, but it's just marketing. It was like the thing that I brought to.
It's an ad.
Touch on it. We might touch on it next week. Maybe just a little bit. I'm gonna do a little bit more research into it. But the whole thing about like the people that are being invited to focus test, as long as you meet these conditions, and I believe it is for the next Witcher game that they're doing that. And then also for next week, I had till the 6th to do the survey for GDC for the GDC that's their current inclusion and sustainability survey that they're putting out. So I'll do a little bit more research for those to touch on for next week, but it falls right in line with the thing that we're talking about right now, which is why I'm mentioning it.
And the thing, again, I just got to say, part of the reason for this is because when the first Dragon Age came out and they had like gay relationships in it, which were still kind of anachronistic and weird, like people should have been like, this is a little bit weird. But of course, you defended it because you're like, well, gay people exist. What are you, some kind of bigot? And then it moved from that. I don't know what the Inquisition did because I didn't play it. I only played the first one. And I only learned about the gay relationships and the bi relationships by looking it up because I didn't really engage in any of that. I was like, we got to stand on business, so we're just gonna get this done. But now they're doing like trans and non-binary shit. So like, where do you think, like, how did we get here? You know, right. Like you have to like understand that these things don't come from nowhere, and it's because you tolerated some of it. Well, like you had to tolerate all of it. You have to tolerate all of it, and so that's where you're going to end up.
The next thing. This is the next thing. Is it's not just going to be transgenderism. This is transhumanism. They are going to start saying, "Hey, do you want to like have this kind of DNA spliced into you? Like, and we're going to have fucking splicers."
Oh, for sure. No, people are already doing that to the degree that they can. Like, there's like people who have gotten plastic surgery. To look like dragons and to look like Barbie dolls, and so I mean, it's obviously that's happening.
Like they are humanizing, they're humanizing genetically modified pigs right now.
Yeah,
to use.
Yeah, they're making human pig hybrids. And Alex Jones talked about that years ago. Yeah.
Yep. And they say that they're doing it for for medical stuff and to try to make people's lives better so they can get a valve from a pig or this or that. But ultimately, what they're going to try to do is make something like this is Bahamut right here. This is the Dark Lord, like what we've got on the screen right now. Got horns, not a man or a woman, just kind of like it's whatever.
Yeah, they make it like that's one of the the non-binary character.
On Halloween, like there is some dark deception going on right in front of everybody right now. They put far more honesty in fiction than you get truth in the news, and that's like. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing that because like, oh well, like we're beyond that. We live in modern society. All that. No, I don't care what day and date it says on the calendar. These esoteric cults that we talk about, like. Our show is called The Week in CULT-ure, right? For a reason. Because there are cults of power that have been with us since the dawn of time. And they are trying to undermine our actual humanity using stupid bullshit tactics like my civility, my moral superiority, my, I just want everyone to get along isms so they can ultimately make shit like this commonplace.
Yep. Thank you for that. Okay, so here is what they're doing. This is from Grums. He says, we need to talk about captured gaming journalism and how corrupt it's become. Dragon Age Veilguard is astroturfing lead narrative or articles and reviews now, parroting the lead narrative designer of the game. Look at these reviews and articles that all repeat the same phrase and ask yourself what's going on. And I don't think that it's like AI. I know that there are definitely AI generated reviews that we've seen, or like Twitter posts, really. But these are actual reviewers who are essentially getting like orders from the developer. So John Epler, this is the lead designer, I believe, the head of the game development. He says, so 5 years ago, when I first rejoined the project as narrative director after hiatus on Anthem, what? Like, why did you? Okay, whatever. I was asked my goals for the project, and one of the ones I put was I want to see the phrase "a triumphant return to form" for BioWare in at least one review. Excited to finally mark that goal done. This project
had Anthem been successful, that's what Dragon Age would have been. It would have been an Anthem form.
The thing is, with Anthem, it's interesting because everyone shits on Anthem. Nobody gets called a bigot for it.
Right.
Because there's nothing like... So you can shit on something that's like bad if it doesn't have any like, politics in it. Or Yeah, but if you criticize something that does have pronouns in it, even if it's bad, then it's like a whole shitstorm.
Right.
Like, so, I'm just pointing it out, just so you guys know. Right, if you just say, well, I'm not criticizing because I'm a bigot, I got, why is there so much drama? It's just a bad game. Yeah, because they don't care about the game, dude. They care about the politics. That's why they didn't go after you when you criticize Anthem. That's why they didn't go after you when you criticize, like Dragon Age Inquisition got criticism. Because it was like like a step backwards to some people.
They're using tokenism for shielding, and because they can sit here, like, because that's what risk aversion is really about. It's not that I don't want to make a choice in a game that's actually going to like make me lose money. Like, no, their point of risk aversion is how do we do the thing that we want to do ultimately to get our power, but to not get blowback. And if we do, it will actually, seem as though the person who is, being attacked is now the aggressor, and we can just kind of have plausible deniability. That's all this shit is, and that's why I say, had Anthem been a successful game, we would have seen, a Dragon Age game that would have been, not the Veilguard. That would have actually been the Dreadwolf game, right? That's why the Dreadwolf part is taken care of in the first 20 to 30 minutes, mostly in cinematics of this game. And because Anthem wasn't successful, they looked around and they said, all right, well, it's successful enough that we can actually lean to. And because they had a shortened development period, they went with an action-adventure game. They used God of War as the template for everything. And so this is just a skin job on a concept that was already there. Like, the puzzles in this are as simplistic as what was in the very first Tomb Raider on PlayStation. Well,
I think the Tomb Raider ones were more complicated.
Right. Well, yeah.
No, they were for real.
You're right.
Like they were.
Because you actually had
harder.
to do like interesting kind of acrobatics and things like that.
Yeah, but you also had to know where to go. But
I just mean in terms of you ultimately it's just like one or two switches you have to do, and this is one or two switches, but they're all right there, right in front of you. Like, it's not even. Yeah, so you're right.
For sure,
you're right. We aren't even able to challenge people to the point that we were getting challenged nearly 30 years ago. So when you talk about what is homogenizing your culture and all that kind of stuff lead to, it leads to fucking fucktards. I mean, like, we are breeding in a form of retardation into people, and by that I mean people that lack talent, skills, and ability, and are compromised. And people may you can't call somebody a retard. It's like, why? I have no problem with people who actually have physical handicaps. In fact, a lot of people that are physically handicapped actually appreciate a good challenge. This thing on the screen right here, though, this is a complete straight up fucktard who's looking for someone to make their life easier and simp to them and give them the easy lane and the express pass to just keep doing whatever it is they're doing because they don't actually want to be challenged. They don't even know how to be challenged.
This is who worked on Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Same person that worked on that Life is Strange game. They basically turned it into a me Troon simulator because that's what it is. And I can demonstrate that. Here is a post, I think this is on Twitter, from Laura Kate Dale. I have a vagina. Ugh.
Right. No, what you have is an inoperable front hole that
you just got a gash. This person is messed up, bro. Like, this is I feel bad for you. Here is them again on the team with another gentleman that's certainly not dosing soylent drinks, but this thing is dead, guys. Like, I'm telling you, from now on, if you, first of all, I would just, like Grum said,
I gave up on AAA, quadruple A, whatever you want to call it.
AAA, quadruple A games.
And it's not even a moratorium, like it's going to come back. No, everything is fucking dead. Find new things that actually, like, if you have an interest in cyberpunk stuff, there's plenty of cyberpunk games out there. Like, maybe take up tabletop gaming for a minute, but don't let it be fucking via, Dungeons and Dragons, or don't. And if you want to play some card-based kind of thing, figure out somebody who's got something going online that'll let you print out the cards and do all the stuff, because you can actually still have the same quality of experience and actually better by going with people that are driven by their passion, their artistic integrity, the ability that they actually have, rather than relying on familiar branded IPs that are ultimately just there to water down whatever it is that you're receiving so that they can make. This is the burning of the great library in Alexandria. Those books weren't burned entirely. The esoteric knowledge was kept for a few. The library was burnt because they didn't want people to have access to the thing to actually do the thing. And that's what they're trying to do right now. And that's why their next big thing they're going to try to get over is real-time, algorithmic-driven censorship. And that's so, some asshat like Bill Gates can try to, destroy the world without you and I being able to speak out against it, because there'll be some kind of auditory bot just monitoring us that'll fuck up our signal or what the hell ever in real time. And there'll just be plausible deniability behind it until people actually do the research and find that, oh, that's what was there. You know, like they had to make AI retarded. And by that, like, I mean, like, you know, because AI, if they didn't program in cultural sensitivity into it, was actually giving legitimate answers. And so, like, I read this article about it earlier in the week where they had to specifically make a algorithm to dumb down the algorithm so that it would spit out answers that were easier to take, because, you know, like, some fucktard might be trying to, like, you know, justify their delusions. And if they actually went to, you know, a thing that was based on facts, it wouldn't spit out the response that they want. And so this is clown world, you know?
Yeah. And one other thing too about this Kate Dale person, they wrote a children's book about being trans, Me and My Dysphoria Monster. And do you know who was promoting this book? Does anyone know? Do you guys remember Queer Kid Stuff from years back? I do, because I was making content back then. Queer Kid Stuff featured a woman.
We talked about one of our first early episodes.
Did we talk about it then?
I think so. I think we did.
She like does these like children's content, or at least it appears to be aimed at children, regarding essentially queerness and it's groomer cringe. That's all I'll say. It's groomer cringe. Thank you for subscribing, Maytura Marble and Master Goa. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I would play a sound for you, but I don't have anything like set up right now because I'm doing some stuff with my computer, but I don't want to get into that right now. But yeah, let me show you all the book. Me and My Dysphoria Monster by Kate Dale or whatever the hell her name is. His name is.
For subscribing.
I don't have the book in front of me.
Good.
I've got no interest in
that. When I heard that, I'd be like, no, never mind. I don't. That's not what I subscribe to.
That's the foot of Queer Kid Stuff. Who's like, again, these are like this is creepy shit. Like, these are creepy people. I'm sorry, but they are. You know how they like to say that, like, you know, Trump and JD Vance supporters are weird? No, that's beyond the pale, guys. You're the ones supporting queer theory. You're the ones grooming children. You're the ones cutting your junk off and then like putting a gash in front and calling it a vagina. That is weird. Not wanting to, like, you know, have normal kids and a normal life.
Can we call them non-ginas instead of
I don't know. Gashes is what I would call them. That's what we call vaginas too, works. But axe wounds. So I got a comment. Turin Horse says they need to just release a trans simulator, bundle it with Goat Simulator, and leave our European medieval fantasy games alone. Yes, but you see, if they made their own content that was like just original, no one would buy it. But if they like co-opt your content that you like, then they think that you have to buy it because what are you, not a real gamer? Buy the new game, buy the new product. And by the way, you guys can always walk away. You don't have to do that at all. And I'm going to show you because I'm going to be uploading videos of playthroughs with AA and indie games on this channel. So please subscribe so you can see it because it's going to give you some options outside of this woke nonsense. And let the franchises die because, as I was saying before, you know, corporations or these dev companies or whatever, they're gonna reach a fork in the road. Okay, they're either gonna continue to double down on their woke political nonsense, or they're gonna lose money, or they're gonna change course and try to like improve and actually give customers what they want. And I'm not gonna make any predictions one way or the other but I'm saying that's the choice laid out before them, just as we have a choice, which is do we buy your shit or not? And honestly, we don't have to.
Businesses. Support small businesses, and you know, like, and because we are talking about the difference between, and I mentioned it earlier, it's kind of like comparing, like, you know, a natural organic kind of soda that's fermented to, you know, the one you can go buy at the store. Same thing, like, you know, like a natural vagina self lubricates, might bleed once a month, you know, but you know, at least it like is actually designed to do the thing that it's doing. These synthetic non-ginas, you know, they rely on Diddy oil and they leak, colon juice all the time. So,
You.
right.
No, I know. Like, honestly, do you know the show? There's there was a reality show about a trans kid. Well, there is, I guess. It's like Jazz Jennings, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the name of the show is. I've never watched it, but I'm telling you, that person is going to commit suicide, and it's going to happen because they are not happy, and their mom, especially the mom,
the trans activist mom. Yes, I know what you're talking.
She is pushing it hard, and I'm telling you, if that person takes their own life, that's going to shake like this whole myth, this whole illusion. It's going to be broken. Like it's going to require either a really high status like figure in that population that is trying to do this, that does not succeed and ends up taking their own life, or it's going to take a mass number of children who are going to take their own lives before somebody says this doesn't work and it's killing people. I mean, that's just what it is. That's the truth. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, and the thing about Jazz, as I recall, is they liked rainbows and they liked unicorns and the color pink when they were a little kid. And so because of that...
Must be a woman.
Right. And it's like, like I look like Thanos. I'm bathed in purple light. Much like, the setting of Dragon Age, it seems. But that doesn't make me like anything other than somebody who's just like, no, I just don't like having like, harsh overhead lighting. So I use like polarization. I use a blue light and a red light, and thus I create like this purple ambient haze, because it looks interesting, but it has nothing. It's kind of like how like, you used to have to explain at the beginning of our shows that you have no trans identity crisis going on because of Vivian. It's just, it is. I just
really like the like animated Avatar stuff. Right, I was doing it like 10 years ago, and I was doing Gamergate. I got like a one of the Doge meme. Mm-hmm. It's the Shiba Inu, and I was the Doge for like a long time. I still have that, but and I enjoyed it back then. But yeah, I mean, it's just something that I think is fun. But I think it just makes more sense for me to just be on camera, and I'll have a Vivian there.
No, I like Vivian being the referee. Right.
Exactly.
Like even in the thumbnails, like I have Vivian like up in front of all the static, and I'm like coming from behind the static.
For sure.
Like there's like some stuff going on there, but yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the next thing, I think. Oh, and so absolutely a groomer. So, but we're gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. All right. So today, as an aside, so we got the election coming up. It's like what, 4 days away at this point. It's on the Tuesday is election day, and there's a lot of talk around it. Actually, Trump is here, like in Salem, Virginia, which is a town essentially part of Roanoke, which is where I'm at. So he's literally here in they're gearing up for a rally at 4:00 in Salem, which is like literally like 5 minutes from my house.
Nice.
So Trump's going to be speaking there. I'd like to go, but there's no way I could. And Lindsay, my wife, she's like, we'll never get in. It's going to be too packed. She told me this morning that like she's at work right now. She said it's already sold out. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
I used to live in Tanglewood, and I worked in Brambleton.
I know. I've been. I know about Tanglewood. I go there sometimes. I go to the Five Guys.
Yep.
That's a Gamergate reference. But I do. We do eat at Five Guys sometimes. So Five Guys burgers and fries.
I've worked all over the silly country.
Yeah. We like it here. We like it here for now.
I loved it there too. Before I ever moved to Seattle, I used to jokingly refer to Roanoke as the Seattle of the South because, like, the hills, like all the kind of up and down, and it rained like every Tuesday for the years that I lived there. And so I jokingly said that, and because I'm a pedestrian, I used to walk all the time. Then when I got to Seattle, I was like, you know what? This is a little bit different, but I still feel like I was on point with what I was saying.
Yeah.
But there is some differences. But
all right,
Roanoke's a nice place.
Yeah. So anyway, so Trump's in town today, and I had, obviously we all have the election on our mind on some level. What happens here in the United States is going to affect Canada, the UK, and basically the world in a number of ways. And we're either going to head more towards World War III, but with vibes and joy and abortions, or we're going to move away from that and towards sanity and peace and, you know, closed borders and like affordable food and housing, you know, like weird shit.
Accountability.
So, yeah, accountability, right. So anyway, this goes back to the thing that I talked about before, where on the show I talked about how Eminem and Beyonce and Jay-Z and you know Cardi B and others were put in front of a microphone to essentially use
Group, but for government.
To use their celebrity status to get people to, you know, essentially vote in for whatever the establishment is at the time. And there's lots of examples of that. I know you've seen it. You know, Michael Keaton, all these celebrities, and they're like, "Hey, don't you remember me from your favorite movie? I'm telling you to vote this way because, or do you remember me from that song you like so much, Taylor Swift? You know, I want you to vote this way. I'm going to endorse this so and so, right?
30 years ago when they had the Rock the Vote and this and that, was the phrase.
Oh yeah,
Rock the
I
vote.
remember.
Not vote for this person. Just do your civic duty. Do the thing that, like, you know, actually, like, if you give a shit about the thing and the whatnot, like, do the thing. This is platforming and marketing of the highest order, trying to do it in a razzle-dazzle attempt to make it seem like it's anything but.
It's not even that. It's so low budget. We're gonna watch this, but essentially what I'm saying is, this is people saying, "Hey, remember the Avengers movie?
Yeah,
this is how you should vote." It is really stupid. Like,
and I don't just mean this, but I mean their attempt to like use the Avengers as the thing that they want people to lean to, because, like, you know what, Endgame was 5 years ago now. You know, like, who even cares about these people? Like, and they're all like old and decrepit and retarded now. Like, just like there's so much cringe that we're about to like take in less than, I think it's about a minute long. God, I have no.
I'm just pointing out. Yeah, and this is literally this is literally a type of marketing. It is essentially using celebrity endorsements. So, but they're doing more than that because they're trying to convince you that they are in fact like the people that they play. So let's go. I'm just gonna play it nonstop, and then we'll say something afterwards.
Indeed.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hey, Scarlett.
Jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. No, they thought it was funny.
Scarlett, it is our pleasure to come together and to get the vote out this election. Come on.
Yeah, how can we be of service?
Well, how about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely a catchphrase.
How about this? I'm just off the top of my head. I can do this all day.
Shut up. I hate it.
Okay.
I mean, it's original, but
what about something punchier like, ooh, boom. You looking for this? Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better.
Okay, how about I'm down with democracy? It's just clean, it's simple. Okay, I like that.
It's hard to argue with that.
Kamala Harris, down with democracy.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kamala Harris, and I say down with democracy.
I don't know if that sounds the way we want it to sound, though.
I think we just need, can we get some production, though?
Jarvis?
My name's not Jarvis, but whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Down with democracy.
Down with democracy.
Is that what we mean, though?
Yeah, together we're going to tear down democracy.
Will you stop playing heroic music under yourselves?
I'm Kamala Harris, and I am down with democracy. Did I sound enough like her on that one?
That was great. How many Golden Globes have you been nominated for? I'm just curious.
Yes! All right, that was awesome.
More like Down syndrome with democracy.
Oh my God. Thank you for subscribing, John Redmond and Corey Robertson. Really appreciate it.
I mean,
I guess that, they're saying the quiet part out loud, guys.
Down with democracy. Like, they want to end it. Like, I mean, like, this is a doublespeak of the highest order. It's some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah, it's so that happened. Are you guys okay out there? Are you guys okay? Are you gonna be okay? So yes,
probably had 3 people die of cringe overload.
Super. There was a lot of cringe there, and just don't know like how to feel about it, right? Okay, unmuted. Okay, welcome back. Yeah, we're done.
Yes,
we're done with that. So
sorry for the torture.
This was a Hail Mary play from the from the Kamala camp. But are you really surprised? Okay, let's be real here for a second. We know that a lot of the people that were in this video are themselves like insufferable wokesters, like Mark Ruffalo and Don Cheadle and I don't know who else. Chris Evans as well. But ultimately, they just got marching orders from their bosses because ABC, is owned by Disney, and Disney owns Marvel, and so in a way, Disney owns these people and was like, "You're gonna push us to vote this way." So, they're just following orders. I mean, that doesn't necessarily make them like not cringe, but I'm just saying this isn't just adult pretenders trying to push something. This is coming from on high. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, no. Like these are the, crossing guards asking you, let me see your papers. We're just not at that point just yet. But there were, like that's all this stuff is just, it's a psyop trying to, as we were saying before it began, like prey upon your nostalgia and like your, like anything that I can do just to disarm you. Because, if you actually were someone who knew how to like defend themselves, well, I'd probably have a harder time getting this shit over, which, subsequently, when I say disarm, yes, I am kind of like, using coded language, but that's what this leads to is if I can disarm you mentally, then I can disarm you physically. And once I can do that, then I'm going to just steamroll all over you.
Yeah, I just want to also add, if you watch the video, I'm not going to watch it again because I can't, but a lot of them look like how many vaccines have they had is what I want to know, because they don't look good. They don't look well. Except for Scarlett Johansson. She still looks good, but would is what I'm saying. Right. But all the others, they look pretty sickly.
Yeah, they do, and one of them is not even technically an Avenger. Like,
you mean Okoye? Yeah, I know. When I saw her in there, I was like, "What are you doing here?" Yeah, you're not
where's Chris?
Where's Chris Helmsworth? Is he just being based somewhere else? Where's Chris? What's his name? Chris Pratt. He like you can tell who was not in the club when this came together. I think.
Well, Chris Hemsworth is far too blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and
he's male, pale, and stale. Yeah,
that's right.
And Chris Pratt is too based. I mean, I think he's pissed off some people. So he's probably voting Trump. I'm not gonna lie. But they this is just like I said, this is just another one of these things where these people get paid and they put this little thing together. They probably got a lot of money because they know that these celebrity endorsements, they work on the midwits. They work on the midwits. Yep. So, all right. Robert Johnson says, if you knew how much they got paid to perform it, I am sure it was as effective as that Fortnite map that they bought with 400 players on it. Are you talking about the one for the Tim Walz, Kamala Harris thing?
Freedom City.
Because I know that there was another Fortnite thing. Do you guys remember the Black Lives Matter Fortnite stunt that they pulled a while back? And it was like a big screen with like fucking CNN on it in Fortnite, and people were throwing tomatoes at the screen in the game or throwing shit at it. Yeah, like I was like, why did you think this was? Why would you? It was like what's his name from CNN, the black guy that's always crying.
Oh, Don Lemon.
No, not Don Lemon. The other one. The he's got the glasses. He's a straight up communist black guy.
God, I can't. I don't.
You guys know. You guys know, right?
I know of him, but learning his name just seems
he's like that guy was on the screen, and you get like Chris Cuomo going, well, who says that, riots are supposed to be peaceful? Van Jones, thank you. Yeah, Van Jones. It was crying ass Van Jones on the screen, and they were throwing shit at him. And he was talking to the Muppets. You remember that when they tried to do that shit with the Muppets, and they had like, what's racism? Elmo, no racism. Well, it's Elmo. It's when black people are killed by white guys, white cops specifically. I mean, it was just cringe. It didn't work out for them.
Bad.
I think that's bad. Do you think that's bad? And I'm like, wow, how people are watching the news and they're watching this and going, you know what, Elmo, you have a point. Wasn't the guy who puppeted Elmo like, touching kids? Just as an aside, but anyway, yeah. So they literally are saying down with democracy. They're kind of lampooning themselves a bit, but there's truth to this, because what is the purpose of keeping the border open and letting in all kinds of essentially criminals into the country and then giving them the right to vote? There was this thing that just happened in Virginia that they had to stop in the courts, okay, where you could be on a V. This isn't like the illegals that are crossing, but this is people who are not citizens. So it's like this is happening from multiple angles, right? Like in Chicago, for example, they don't even ask for ID. Like when I was living there, and I was like during the 2020 election, I think, or maybe it was I think it was the 2020, or maybe it was the midterms before that 2018. My wife, who has a green card, she's from Canada. She's not a citizen, but she has a green card. She was just walking around, like walking to work, and she was walking past a polling place, and these people came out and they asked her to come in and vote. And she was like, well, I can't vote because I'm not a citizen. Oh, they were like, oh, no, don't worry about that. Just give us your address and your ID and you can vote. So like they're finding ways to like change this, right? And so they are literally trying to alter the demographics so that the left always wins elections. That's killing democracy, as it were.
Right. Speaking of killing democracy and the sickness that this is, it's like, they're platforming all these people who are coming through illegally to do this DDoS attack on the vote. But
John, you're disappearing off to the side a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah. But the they're DDoSing this thing, with illegals, platforming them, putting them up in plush 5-star hotels, giving them $10,000,
flying them in. Yep.
Right. But then, before the show, I told you, the guy in New York who started an animal sanctuary because he befriended and took care of a young squirrel that's mother got crushed, 7 years ago. And then he used that as a way to kind of bring goodness into this world and actually help things. The government there's like, no, you can't have that squirrel, man. And so they waited till he was out of his house, went in, took his animals, killed the squirrel, euthanized it, and there's a raccoon that still has not been returned. So the raccoon is probably dead as well. And so they have we'll platform all these illegals, give them all this kind of resource and this and that. But somebody who's actually just taking care of something out of the goodness of their heart, they're going to try to find some way to say, oh, well, you can't have that because, we're here to help. It's so sick.
Yeah. I got a super chat from Master Goa. Thank you, Master Goa. And he says, I appreciate Vivian James. Things might be different if Journos would stop orgies for coverage. It's sad that they need 5-player co-op to tame one girl. Nice. All right. Thank you for that. And yes, I also appreciate Vivian James. I think that from the moment I heard about the controversy with the Fine Young Capitalists, which is where the Vivian James meme comes from, I was like, we got to protect this girl. So this is the one girl that we have to protect is Vivian. Okay. So please do. Anyway, not Rumble Chan, because she can protect herself. Trust me. But anyway, so we're going to move on to the next story, but this is totally cringe. And I've already voted for Trump. So take that, Avengers. Consider yourselves defeated. And we're going to move on to the next thing. There was something else I was going to mention about DEI. I don't have it as a story, but as an aside, I learned, these hurricanes that hit North Carolina. Did you guys know that FEMA, the people who are supposed to be looking out for Americans, they are essentially considering or taking it. They take into account marginalized groups and create a sort of hierarchy of priorities. And it's been confirmed by a whistleblower that's come out of from FEMA to say, look, the reason why the people in North Carolina are not in there, and there are no people there from FEMA, no one has come yet, and it's been at least a couple of weeks since the floods, no help from FEMA at all. And it's because they're white. That's what's happening. And this is, it doesn't matter.
What they are doing though? They're sending in CPS threatening to take away people's kids because they don't have any resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So they're not taking care of American citizens. They're doing it on the basis of this, intersectional feminist hierarchy. which is essentially an inversion of reality. And they even claim claim that they don't give any FEMA doesn't do anything to support houses of worship is what they call it, which is essentially to say Christian organizations, but they do help mosques and they do help synagogues and temples. So like that, they're specifically targeting Christians and saying that it's just religion in general, but that's bullshit. Like if it's a mosque, if it's a synagogue, they're there. Okay. So that's bullshit. Okay. So anyway, let's get into the last story I want to cover. And then we'll do some cake if we have time. So new research on female video game characters uncovers a surprising twist. Not really surprising. Yeah. But still, this is like people are figuring this out.
It's only a twist because your ideology is twisted. Yes.
Apparently, female gamers prefer playing as highly sexualized characters despite supposedly disliking them. This just in, women are horny. And I think that there's evidence to show that women are hornier than men. And I know that sounds weird, but I don't know if you've noticed, like, look at what women like to consume in terms of content and what men like to consume.
We didn't do the story on it, but Kim Bel-Air is like, not only like
she's down bad for Bowser.
Yeah, she is the definition of horny. Like, she wants to like ride a horn, quite literally. Whether it be Bowser or an antelope's. I mean,
women are very, very oversexed these days, and to me, it's not a surprise because again, I've been talking about this stuff for years. But let's look at this. Okay, so the research there was some research that was done. Investigated whether strong sexualized female characters in video games can inspire positive perceptions amongst players, or if sexualization negates the positive effects of character strength. The findings were sexualization over strength. Characters with high sexualization were seen as more sexualized when also depicted as strong, suggesting that strength does not mitigate negative perceptions from sexualization. While both genders generally disliked highly sexualized characters, female participants were more likely to choose these characters due to them seeing them as being perceived as more feminine, whereas male participants preferred less sexualized but strong characters. So this isn't to say, by the way, that men don't like, like Stellar Blade or Tomb Raider before they turn into a man, but that women also like that. I know it's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Imagine.
And they especially like it when the women in video games themselves have sexual power as NPCs. So like this idea that these are all like objects for men to like oogle over is bullshit because women like it as well. But
it's almost like refers back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show about how it's like, I want to identify with these characters of like, oh, this strong buff, like, like Space Marine, I need to go to the gym, I need to do a thing, it's like that's what these things used to be for. Still would be if people with actual common sense were anywhere near the controls. But unfortunately, we've got delusional troons being platformed into these positions.
Let's see here. So active versus passive engagement. When players could control characters, so like if they were playing them versus watching them, the impact of strength cues on perceptions of femininity and competence increased. Strong characters were seen as less warm, but more competent. There is like the methodology. 2 experiments were conducted using the game Soul Calibur 6. Characters were manipulated to have varying levels of sexualization and strength. Participants either watched these characters in action or they played as them. When I thought of Soul Calibur 6, my brain went right to Ivy because that's who I main on Soul Calibur 6, and she is very
hot. And
she is very hot.
Plays well. She plays well. And she is hot, but her fucking chain sword, like the whip sword, dude. Yeah,
it's a badass weapon. That's why that's literally like when they introduced Ivy in Soul Calibur 1, which is the sequel to Soul Blade. I was like, I'm playing that character because I like the weapon, and it didn't hurt that she was hot, but like And that's why, like Mr. 0303 says, it's Ivy is tricky to main, but that's what I'm drawn to. Characters that are harder to play as are the ones I want to play as.
Yeah, like
because of the stances and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Eddie back on Tekken. You know, like I used to play the living shit out of Link on the GameCube version of I think it was Soul Calibur 4, but other than that, Ivy all day.
Yeah, Urgo says she was hard to use. I use Mitsurugi. On Tekken, I play King a lot because he's also complex. A lot of Tekken characters are complex, but King, Feng Wei, Leroy, what's his name? Leroy Smith. I wanted to get into Lei Wulong, but I had a friend who wanted to main him, so I didn't touch Lei Wulong. But I mean, that's a good character if you like to get into stances and complexity. So,
I also played. I think it was Ivy's dad. Like he had a pirate skin. Remember?
Cervantes. Yes.
Cervantes and Ivy. Yeah.
Cervantes is cool. Yeah. Anyway, that's a good game. I haven't played it in a long time. Might want to get back into that. But yeah, when I thought of sexualized characters, I immediately went to Ivy and Sophitia because Sophitia's like. I think she's nursing is all I'm saying. I don't know, but I think she's nursing. Oh yeah, Nightmare and Voldo. Voldo is very complex
Voldo's
too.
Also,
yeah. Fucking weird, dude.
Such a great game though.
It is. It is a good game. Okay, anyway. So they use Soul Calibur 6. The interplay between character design elements like sexualization and strength affects player engagement and perceptions differently based on the level of interactivity. Character design continues to play a critical role in shaping player attitudes. So essentially what they found is that when women were observing characters, they liked it less, but when it came to playing them, they liked it more. So there was something about inserting themselves into the characters. And yeah, it turns out women are horny and women like hot female characters. They don't want to play like, androgynous, like troon characters that pretend to be women. And that's just, it's just reality, guys.
And not to like bring it back to like the things I always bring it to, but I find that it bears some interesting bit of psychology since we are talking about these kinds of things. For as much as women do complain about, people's porn habits and this and that, I worked in a porn shop. Women get some of the most crazy porn and like
I bet they do.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I bet they do.
I mean, so and I mean like weird shit, and like like they like what they like, and it's usually like the most like Kim Bel-Air. I guess I have to watch it all. I have to look at everything, like in this weird kind of like like Leather Daddy Bowser bullshit, Bowser Day or whatever the hell the thing, which do not look into. I have not, and I know that it's no good that can come from that. Go watch Lemon Party or Goatsy or One Dude, One Jar or like Two Girls, One Cup instead before you go into that. Because anything that is made for Kim Bel-Air, I almost said Kim Bowser, but she wants to be Kim Koopa. Anything that's made for her psychology, you don't want any part of. But don't watch those other things either. Anyways,
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
So no, it's okay. I got it. I'm like putting in the stuff for cake. So I got a couple of comments I want to read from the chat. Neat Scholar says, for women, sexy is power. So sexy women give an appearance of being more powerful. Yeah, I know. Groundbreaking concept. Yeah, for sure. Mr. 0303 says, I'm a Heihachi Dragunov guy. Yeah, I play the Mishimas a lot. Li Chaolan. I'm all over the place, honestly. Yeah. But one of the ones I got really committed to learning was King. I wanted to do the his crazy like throw combos. Serathis says, women like bestiality a bit too much. We all know about white girls and dogs. Yeah, I know. Don't remind me. Norwegian Black Templar says, in other words, when they were observing, they felt threatened, but when they were playing, they felt like they were the threat. Yeah, I think that's I think that's true. I think there's something to that. Don't rule 34 Bowser. Noted. Well, what about Bowsette? I know that was a thing for a while.
Kim wants to be Bowsette.
Yeah, she. Okay.
Right. The troon that a company in Dragon Age. I was jokingly calling Kim Koopa earlier this week. The one that's in the image.
Yeah,
That's what she's down for.
all right. So anyway, with all that, let's do a little bit of cake and then
Indeed.
wrap it up. So
Yep.
we're gonna look at some sales. Okay, we already know Concord is dead, and now the studio is officially gone. So it's SJ in the chat. Welcome to the show, SJ. I'm just seeing you now for the first time. I have taken better quality shits in the toilet than the story writing in DA Veilguard. Yeah, sadly, that's where we're at now. So what are you gonna do? So how well is Dragon Age: The Veilguard doing according to the Steam charts? We have 72,000 in game. That's underwhelming, I think. Considering, I should share the tab so you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit underwhelming considering. I don't know. People are saying it sold really well, but we've already covered.
So this,
why
I guess, is their
a bit of a stretch.
peak high, because they were 71,414, I believe, was day one. So it is past noon on the East Coast, and it is it's going to be 10 a.m. on the West Coast. So peak time for this game is over the course of the next 4 to 5 hours. So if they're only just marginally above what they did yesterday, so their new peak high is 77,465.
Yeah.
This is not hitting true. This is not
I don't
gonna hit
know.
6 digits.
Yeah, I don't know like whether or not the previous games in the franchise have had higher peaks for that. I didn't look at those numbers, but
they wouldn't show they wouldn't reflect appropriately on Steam because they used to be console exclusive for years. But in terms of net sales, which I said, Dragon's Age Inquisition sold 1 million copies on day one, and so like that's everything they're doing right now is spin for this thing. Like it's not the hit that everybody's trying to proclaim it to be. It's only if you take it through a myopic kind of lens and really, rather than like having like a telescope or like I guess more binoculars or something like that to like actually get a panorama of all this kind of stuff. They just want you to like just focus in right here on this really nebulous detail. And we're gonna act like that's all the context that you need to actually, such bullshit.
all right, let me get ready. So we looked at Dragon Age. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say these are underwhelming numbers considering how long people were waiting for this game to come out, and it took them 8 years to make it. And I believe it went back to the drawing board a couple of times once the Troons came on board and were like, "Can you make this about me?" Right. So let's now look at Starfield. Fucking pronouns. 7,350 in game. Ouch. And this is Bethesda. Man, dude, like, is that bad? It sounds bad to me. Like 7,000, and it's been steadily on the decline for a while. So Starfield not doing so hot, right? What's another one? Well, we could look at a game that might be still successful. Space Marine 2, 19,735. And it is also on the steady decline, but I will say that one of the reasons for this, and I'm not caping for Space Marine 2, but what I would say is that it was never a massive game. I think there was like 100,000 or something at its peak. But once you've done the campaign and you've maxed everything out, I think for people who have played the shit out of it, there isn't much to go back to. It's kind of like
I believe they are going to make DLC though for it, just based on
they do have plans, and there'll probably be a spike. Yes, they already released a lot of free shit for this, and I'm glad they did. I've been playing it. Homeworld 3 was one you looked at. Yeah, I'm about to put it up on the screen. Yeah. So let's look at Homeworld.
And then we can do more Space Marines. We'll see how the revival of Helldivers 2 is.
Yeah, Helldivers. So Homeworld 3, 41 people. Oof.
Yeah, not good.
Oof.
I mean, it's better than the single digits it was last week when we checked. I think they were only, so I guess that's a slight improvement.
Concord is dead. Yeah, it's super dead. So let me see what else. Dustborn. I'm sure that it's done. Like this is like done and dusted. No pun intended. 4.
All right. How about members of the band?
How about the Troon Simulator? Life is Strange. Life is Strange. This is like, what's the True Colors? No, Double Exposure. Life is Strange. Double Exposure. Okay. 3,394. This game came out like, I think it was like yesterday. No. It came out on the 29th of October. So it's been out less than a week. So 3,000. Oh, look, it peaked up here at 8,000 players, but it looks like it's been dipping. Yeah. Not a fan of these games personally. So yeah, Double Exposure is the Sweet Baby Inc. sponsored one. But honestly, I think you can make a really good case that all of these games are bad. Like these Life is Strange games are woke, lesbian, romance, fantasy bullshit. So yeah, it deserves this. What's another one?
Well, like I said, we can do Helldivers 2 while we think of something.
Helldivers 2. Let's do Helldivers 2. 47,000. That's actually, considering this game's been out since February, that's pretty decent. And it's not great. And I mean, again, like I've said many times, it's too bad about how they got fucked over by Sony. Yeah. Because I think Arrowhead Studios could do so much better. They definitely have a good team. They just need to fire their community managers and get the hell away from Sony and then make a different product. And I'm sure that if it has the same spirit, it'll do fine.
Let's check Wukong and see how.
Black Myth Wukong. Okay, Black Myth. Here we go. Black Myth Wukong. 63,127. Again, single player game, not bad considering. Right? Are there any other games you guys want me to put into the old machino and see how well it's doing? I'm gonna read
let's
your
check something really old. Like let's try like Team Fortress.
Team Fortress 2? That one might be really, because it's like free to play now. So there might be a lot of people on that. Yes, almost 60,000 people, 59,764.
And that game's like nearly 20 years old now.
Yeah.
So, you don't
Monster
need
Hunter.
Games, you just need good games.
Let's look up Monster Hunter Wilds, because that's like, people have been talking a lot about this one, and I've never played a Monster Hunter game. So it doesn't say. It's not. I don't think it's out yet. Maybe.
Yeah, we should check out Powell Worlds.
Yeah, it's coming out next year. Powell World. Yes. Yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds comes out next year. 21,018. I don't know anything about Powell World except it's it's Pokemon
under attack by Nintendo,
under attack by Nintendo, right? So Factorio.
Oh, and then
there's like a new expansion. So almost 100,000 people.
Since we checked out Starfail, we should also check No Man's Sky because that was also just on.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, that's a good one. No Man's Sky right here. So 20,000, just about 19,204. Yeah, very nice. Let me see if anyone else. Somebody said PUBG. What is Player Unknown Battlegrounds, right?
Yep.
Let me see. Is this? I don't see it. Oh yeah, here it is. PUBG Survive. No, I'll just put in PUBG. Hold on.
Yep.
PUBG Battlegrounds, right? Oh shit! Yeah, it's huge. 360,000. This game's been out since 2017, and it's still kicking ass. Should I be playing this game?
It's the thing that started the whole Fortnite craze and whatnot, but it's not like one of the comments in the chat about that Freedom City thing is evidently you can't use guns on the map.
Yeah, my nephew really wants me to play Fortnite with him, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna suck so hard.
My brother, I'm sure, tries to get me to do it too, and I just say I don't care if you paid me.
I'm sure Fortnite is doing really well.
I will not ever play Fortnite.
Is Fortnite not on?
Fortnite is Epic only. It's like it is the Unreal Engine. It's how they're trying to, and that's why so many companies are being watered down to use it because they're using Fortnite as their wedge piece to say, oh, but look how popular Fortnite is. If you can, code a thing for Fortnite, this is it is the homogenization game. It is one of the worst things that has befallen the game industry. And it's also, it's like Fortnite is you remember when Disney had the Infinity Box and like that game went away? All those assets went into Fortnite, basically. So Fortnite is supporting Disney. Fuck Fortnite.
All right. I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds is not out yet. Somebody did ask me to look up one game trailer, so I'll do that, and then I'm gonna jump out. What we're gonna say?
Yeah, just an interesting side note. So like they're up to what 77,000 is what we saw for the piece of shit Dragon Age. The other day on Nerd Wars, they were showing that just the just the for Black Myth Wukong before the game came out, when people were testing to see if their graphics card was good enough, 85,000. So they can't even beat like a graphics card tool.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay, so Dean Domino sent us $4.99 super chat. That's why I'm going to do it, because he did send a super chat asking me to do this, and said, if you're taking suggestions, then perhaps Kingmakers and I Am Your Beast. So let me look those up. Hold on a second.
I think for future shows, we should announce at the beginning that people want to, chime in with their.
Well, then I can just go back and bring it up. Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. All right, so hold on a second. So Kingmakers, I'm gonna put it on the screen here. Let me share this tab, and we'll take a quick look at this trailer. This is for Kingmakers.
We don't know where he came from, but I'll tell you. He built our village into a city. He's the one who trained our army, who grew us into an empire.
Kind of reminds me of that Civil War game that you showed the other day.
But if you think you can stop
War of Rights, yeah.
You're already dead.
Oh, you're in a car? This is like Army of Darkness.
What? Dude! Dude! Alright. Kingmakers, I am putting this on. I am checking more into this. This is going to go on the FFS Discord. Fucking Evil Dead! Is there a spear chucker? Did I see a spear chucker out there? Time Cop, Evil Dead, this is great. Yeah. More of this. What?
He gave our people a future. I hope he
What?
can save his own.
Dude! Yeah, this is the game they're supposed to be. Just awesome, insane scenarios. Like, this is great. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, because that is awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
I really wish listing that. I'm keep my eyes on that.
That's freaking crazy, man.
That's great.
Oh man.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So
That is why we do this thing. Jeez, that was awesome.
let me pause this for a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it, but let me look at the chat here. Oh, that one. War Rights is cool, but only like 100 people play it. Yeah. Did not see that coming. No, me neither. If knights had access to modern weapons. That's kind of that's a good recommendation. Thank you for that. Okay, so now we're gonna look at this game, I Am Your Beast, and let's see what this is about. Looks like a first person, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
Dear Diary, turns out I'm still good, doing a lot of bad things. I'm what the COI made me, and I'm not going back.
Harding, I know you're listening. You can still come in. We've gone fishing. You've held my son. Put this behind us. Alphonse Harding, respond!
All right. I like that. I mean, it's a stylish comic book micro. Okay. Hunt the military-industrial complex across stylish comic book micro sandboxes in this fast-paced, covert revenge thriller FPS from the developers of El Paso Elsewhere. And yeah, I like it. It's got like a the Bourne Identity vibe going on. So
a little bit of 13. Anybody remembers that game from over a decade ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mastergoa says for $5, thank you, Mastergoa. If you are watching game trailers off Steam, please see Trail Out and Mad Mullet Jack. I know about Mad Mullet Jack. I think we talked about it on a show a while back, like one of the early ones. But I could put the trailer on for you guys anyway. But thank you for the 5. Let's do this, and then I'm gonna quit out. Yeah, it's John Wick vibes for sure. I was thinking more like Jason Bourne, but yeah, John Wick 2 is a good one. Okay. So let me put that in Trail Out. Okay. So let's see. Trail Out, $10.99. It's a car thing, I think. Is that right? So let me put this back on screen here, and we'll play it.
And begin.
Oh, this is like do you remember that there was this racing game where you were driving and there was like fucking buildings falling and explosions happening around you, but it was like a racing game?
Right, right.
I'm not talking about Burnout. It was something else. But
yeah, no.
I guess this is sort of like that. Oh, yeah. Split Second. Yes, that's what it was called. Split Second. Oh, shit. Ragdoll physics.
Nice.
Oh, shit. There's a guy on fire.
Right? I mean, seriously, like, games don't need much. Like, the design concepts from 20 years ago, but prettier or, like, more advanced, it's perfectly fine. You know?
I love ragdoll physics. They always make me laugh.
Right?
Carmageddon, yeah.
Yep.
Flat Out.
Good soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Again, there are still people doing good work out here, you know?
Yeah.
All right, I'll put in
plenty of great games for people to get involved with that have nothing to do with large-scale corporations and their whole, like, like watering down of everything. Like, what has been suggested? Like I say, I don't think the 2-year moratorium, like both of us have said, it's not enough. Just stop being centered on any of that stuff ever being anything good. It's at best you're dealing with a charlatan who's going to try to wheel and deal, and at most you might get a bait and switch kind of scenario.
All right, Mullet Mad Jack is what it's called. It's definitely like got an aesthetic.
Yeah, it does. I like.
Sounds like you're in trouble.
It's like old 90s cyberpunk anime art style.
You have 10 seconds. Destroy these damn robots. Okay, boss. Roger.
Someone else is fooling you.
That ass moderator to take care of our bots.
Oh, looks like it's too late to favor.
Now be a good boy and die!
This is great.
Mm-hmm.
This game blows your mind. mullet Mad Jack.
It might be a serious Sam in certain ways.
Yeah, some people are saying, what was it? Shadow Warrior. And I was thinking of something else too. I can't think of it right now, but it's definitely cool. So I'm gonna end the show there. Thanks guys so much for joining us. This one a little bit long, but it's okay. Thank you for the recommendations. Yeah, I got more demos I'm going to show off, but not here. I'm going to do some videos on them. So be on the lookout for that. Because again, I'm all about talking about what's wrong with our culture because I think our culture is terribly sick. But I also want to point people in a more positive direction. So support people who are making good content. And all this looks very promising.
Yeah, before we head off entirely, if you want to see me beyond today, this weekend, tomorrow, bright and early, I would say 8 a.m. is the time that we normally do the show, but since our time zone change hasn't happened here in America yet, it will probably be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then 7 a.m. Pacific for WTF Live, where we talk about Doctor Who. It's probably one of the few times the week you get to see me just talk about things and not shout and be pissed off and just annoyed by the state of reality. But later in the day, if you do like that sort of thing, Reality Based will be at 5 p.m. Pacific. 2 p.m. Or 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And then Stupenzo is doing his shows around midnight now. And then, you'll of course see me here again next week. And then since I'll be on Will of the Fans tomorrow and Reality Based, if you want to see or hear where else I am on those channels during the week, I'll just do those updates then and there. But other than that, I would say, safe travels ahead. Have a wonderful weekend going forward and be awesome as always. And I can say
all right. So, so I'm going to be demoing some games or doing some playthroughs. I'm going to be now we're in November, and this is going to be martial arts month. I'm going to be doing martial arts games, beat 'em ups, fighting games, whatever. A couple that I really want to do are some unique titles let me see, I have the demos here. Spirit X Strike, Karate Survivor, Sifu, and Mad Streets for starters. Mad good. Streets is a super hilarious, sort of 4-player party fighting game that I thought we could have some fun with. But be on the lookout for those. And Sifu is amazing. I haven't played in a long time, but I want to get back into it. So and
hey, maybe we'll even possibly find a good old school fighting game when we're talking about Soul Calibur. If there's
I have Soul Calibur 6, I think, on the PS4. I have the PS4 Soul Calibur, whichever one that was.
All right, we'll see if we have anything that overlaps, and maybe get in on a gaming session or two with you.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks guys for coming on the show today. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about what we discussed in the show today. Be sure to join the Discords in the description of this video. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of The Week in Culture, and we see you guys next Saturday, if not during the week. Have a good one, everybody.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.